Chandra from the NR Hour Sports Show. This is episode 765. I'm joined by a really special guest, World Series champion Cliff Floyd. He played with the Marlins. He played with a lot of teams: the Expos, Red Sox, Rays, Padres, Cubs, Mets. He had a great career, over 200 home runs, over 800 RBIs. Man, over a 278 batting average. First of all, thank you for joining. It's truly an honor. And how are you and your family doing so far during the sub situation? And where are you guys currently located?
Man, we've been all right, man. Down in Florida, man, just, doing what everybody else is doing, just trying to get by, and hopefully sooner than later we'll get some normalcy back and we can keep moving. But I think, through everything, you learn a lot about yourself if you took some time to sort of learn yourself and learn, that, when we always say things can't get worse, well, they can't. So you just gotta stay positive. We've been trying to stay positive, and that's been everything, all we could do.
Yeah, so I want to start off with your childhood, and when did you get interested in playing baseball? And who did you have, like, a player growing up that you looked up to in the majors?
Man, I started playing at an early age. I had a great coach. Grew up in Markham, Illinois. Name was, we called him Mr. Harris, but it was Moses B. Harris. And he taught us a lot. Definitely taught us about Jackie Robinson. We traveled back then when nobody had any money. And, I didn't think I was going to play that sport for a living, but I think the biggest thing is, I think a lot of kids really truly need that crawl before you walk type of coach to get to that next level, because he just kept me straight. So, it was, I guess, 10, 11, 12. I was a big kid, 6'2", 6'3". I had to always carry my birth certificate around because, some of these organizations like, nah, he ain't 12, man, whatever. And I thought I was going to hoop. I thought I was going to be a hooper. And, it just, I knew early on that if my game didn't, step up, I wasn't going to hoop. So it was good. It was a good run as far as my career, but going all the way back, man, growing up in the hood a little bit, it taught me, that, I want to do some different and not leave the hood per se because of what it looked like, but understood where I was and where I want to go.
So who was do you have like a role model growing up? No, right?
Man, I grew up in Chicago, like I said, so I had the best of both worlds. So I had the Cubs and the White Sox. Yeah. The thing about the Cubs were I knew everybody on the team, but they played during the day. They had no lights. If you remember back when the Cubs at Wrigley didn't have any lights. So I was like, in the summertime, when baseball is played, I wasn't inside. None of my boys were inside. So we was just chilling, but the White Sox played at night. So my idol was Harold Baines. Oh. And, big leg kick, lefty hitter, everything about what he represented was what I wanted to be. And I was in the backyard trying to emulate that swing every day.
Yeah, so for you, before settling on outfield, did you get to play any other positions in baseball, like infield, pitching, or catching? Did you get to play any other positions?
I did it all as a kid. Only thing I didn't do, maybe I did catch 1 or 2 games, but I was like, hell no, I ain't doing this. But I played every position, man. I tried to pitch. I was wild as heck. And then, I look, when you're a kid, man, your coach putting you wherever they're hitting the ball, because they figure you're a good athlete, you'll figure it out. So it was some days I played short, some days I played third. Wherever this team was supposed to hit the ball, he was good like that. He'd be like, hey, you playing third today? I'm like, I don't know how it's going to be, but we'll figure it out on the fly. And it was good. It was good, to be able to understand the game at a young age definitely helped me out in my career.
So obviously you made your major league debut with the Montreal Expos, and take me back to that experience. Obviously you played with a lot of great talent there. Pedro Martinez was on that team, and also did you ever think that you were going to play with Tom Brady, because he got drafted by the Expos at one point?
Man, I never even thought about TB, man. You know, it's so strange how you know, you go through these levels and trials and tribulations and failures and you know, and people at you know, when you're young are telling you you're gonna fail.
Right.
You know, you're gonna fail at this sport. So um the biggest thing, the biggest challenge was just to remember what my coaches taught me at an early age is just keep fighting, keep grinding, you know, keep working and outwork the next guy. And when I got to Montreal, I mean, it was a lot of high expectations on myself. I was a high draft pick and so on and so forth. And um, you know, I had to understand that you can't live up to everybody's expectations. Right. You can't live up to anybody telling you that you're supposed to be Willie McCovey and the next great this. And I'm like, but I think I can. And it's like, well, go ahead and try to find out if you can or not. And I changed my swing. I did so many different things that I wasn't me. And it took me 4 or 5 years to actually get back to where I felt like, all right, now I can dominate. Look myself in the mirror and said, go dominate, man. Go be a star. You know, if you fall short, you're a good player. And that's what I did.
Yeah, so for you, what was like playing with Pedro Martinez? I think Vladdy was on that team, right? If I'm not mistaken. Or
no, Vlad wasn't there, but I had Pedro.
Yeah.
I had we had such good dudes that, you know, it was gonna be strictly on me if I failed. Like straight up. Like, you know, when you name who was big as far as giving love and understanding certain things about the game and about not just the game, but off the field as well, you have to name almost my whole team, you know, and people always go, well, what about this? I'm like, yeah, I was getting to them, but I had to name some other guys first. Larry Walker, Marquise Grissom, Mike Lanson, Delano Shields, Rondell White. Like it goes, Randy Milligan taught me how to play first base. Darren Fletcher was hilarious in the clubhouse. We had some of the best coaches you could possibly have. So when you think about what sticks, man, you have to have a good foundation. And, you know, to be able to understand, like, you know, not everybody is fortunate like I was. So I thought everybody had the goods, right? I'm like, oh, your coaches ain't like this, or dudes on your team ain't like that. And they was like, no, we ain't got none of that. You know, when you talk to your boys around the league, and it kind of woke me up to like, yo, man.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. Oh, sorry. Yeah, the connection is a little horrible here. What did you say before?
I was just saying it was going to be really hard for me to fail, for sure. Like I had so many good people around me.
Mm-hmm. So now moving to you went to the Marlins after the Expos, and obviously you won the World Series with the Marlins. And what was that like? And you guys had a loaded team that year. And what was the message that the manager gave you guys during that World Series champion run?
We had one heartbeat, man. That was it. You know, we were just a squad that, you know, nobody was bigger than the other. And if you weren't there. Like you was only there because you were a good player. You wasn't there because we wanted you there. Like, you know, if you didn't fit what we were about as far as family and unity, man, then you didn't fit that team. And we just had the right mix. Yeah. And it wasn't always, you know, the 25 guys that you saw. It was guys getting called up. It was guys filling in. It was guys that was left off rosters like myself and Antonio Alfonseca. Like, yo, it was a grind. We lost one of our best pitchers in Alex Fernandez at the most important time of the season, the postseason. And we were still able to figure out a way to get through the Braves, who was our nemesis back then. Mm-hmm. And ultimately, I thought when we got through the Braves, nobody could beat us. That's just how I felt. So, man, you know, win the World Series, people think, oh, you got an incredible team, and this team has to win. I'm like, you have no idea. You just don't. I mean, if it was that easy, you would see teams that have super incredible rosters win every year and be like, all right, well, everybody else, next year maybe. Nah, it don't work that way. So you got to go out there and play no matter what name's on the back of the jersey.
Yeah. So what was the first thing you guys did after winning that World Series?
Man, we all went in the back room, and Jim Leland was incredible that year, the coaching staff, and we just had a moment to ourselves. And basically everybody gave a thought on what that moment meant to them. And, it worked. It worked for everything we put into that season. It worked for how much we, sort of just understood how huge the moment was. And, it was just that release of everything we endured through 180 plus days. We just released it in that training room. Cigar smoke, drinks, we drenched, guys tearing up. It was special. You'll never forget it.
So obviously now, this is a two-part question. Obviously, you went back to the Expos. So what was that like going back to the team that you started with? And also, how tough is it for you and your family? You kept moving from team to team, but obviously you got to play with a lot of historic franchises. But how tough is it for you just to move from team to team?
Well, that's always tough on the family, right? Like you don't get to, sit and be like, oh, you know what? We're just gonna hop and go to Houston or hop and going over to Florida. No, it's a lot involved. Everything that you have packed, moved. I didn't have kids till a little bit later after that first after I first went back to Montreal, but you still got to pack up the house. You still got to get everybody, get everything to the next destination. And oh, by the way, you still got to play.
Yeah.
So it's always hard, man. But you try your best just to, figure it out. And you're not the first dude to get traded. That's how I always looked at it. Like, it ain't the first person to say, hey, you know what, you're getting traded tomorrow, and I want you playing in 3 days. Like it's been a lot of dudes traded. So, and you adapt and you keep it moving.
So for you, obviously, you played in the AL East, and then AL East and NL East. So for you, what was it like competing against the Yankees and against the Braves and all, especially?
Well, you know how I look at baseball and anything, man, it's just ball. You got to get in that box. I'm looking out the same dude, got the scout report. He might throw something a little bit different. Wind up might be a little bit different. But at the end of the day, I'm balling. And Adrian Gonzalez said that a long time ago, and I'll never forget it. He was like, it's baseball. Why, if you make it harder than that, like, oh, shoot, I'm going to another league. Yeah, you're trying to impress. But, like, I look at cats that's trying, like, if you sign a deal for $300 million, Lindor is trying to impress. He's trying to show, that this is how dope I have to be. I am a star. Fernando Tatis. Do we not think that these guys are superstars? Absolutely. But when you have to live up to the billing, and nobody, and look, I don't care who you are, it's going to happen. Like 340, 300, whatever. Like those are numbers that is just hard to, and when you think about where they are, Tatis got 80 games on this belt. Like, we still don't know what type of player he is.
Right.
Francisco Lindor played in Cleveland. No disrespect, small market squad. He had 2 reporters in his face every night that loved him. New York will eat you up.
Yep.
So time will tell, and I think they're going to be great. I do. But pressure is a mug, and it'll beat your butt up like Mike Tyson.
Yeah. So I gotta ask you this. Obviously, out of all the teams you played for, what was your most favorite ballpark you played in as a player?
As a home team or just in general?
Oh, just in general.
Man, there's nothing like Wrigley Field. It's it's you have to actually be on the field. Like I never didn't go there and like sit on the grass, hear the music. There was, the piano, upstairs, whatever music it was. It wasn't the, Sirius XM, hip hop station playing that. It was the organ playing that. And I think Wrigley just has that, that feel of what the game is about. And, even the concession stand, everything was just different. And I love playing it.
So obviously, looking back at your career, how grateful are you to be in this position, to be able to play the game you loved, over 200 home runs, over 800 RBIs, a World Series champ, and a 278 batting average, and you played with a lot of great players in your career, a lot of great teams. How grateful are you to be in this position, and do you deserve to be in the Hall of Fame? Because I think you do.
No, I think there's a consistency that is overused at times with numbers. And to be a Hall of Fame in my eyes, just me, in my opinion, we all entitled. There's a consistency that has to be there enough for you to say, damn, he's separated from them. And injuries will derail any thought of you being Hall of Fame. It's just nature of the beast. And if you get injured at the end and you was amazing as Ken Griffey Jr., you get in. Mm-hmm. But I think that's the difference in how numbers, I appreciate your thought, but I think that's how I see the Hall of Fame. That's how the Hall of Fame will probably always be viewed. Players that you see on the field consistently 160 times a year for 15 years, look at their numbers. They'll give you a idea of how they're viewed.
Yeah, so I'm just curious, for you, when you were in the New York market, when you were playing with the Mets, how did you take the media? And were you comfortable with the New York media?
I was very comfortable. Yeah. I learned to adjust, obviously, but I was very comfortable because the most important thing you have, is your dignity and who you're about and who you are. So I wasn't tripping on nothing. I was just like, yo, I'm at my locker. You ask me a question, I give you an answer. Like, you can be a smart ass and get booted and get talked about and get on the back page if you want. But I was cool. I told him how I felt. I told him what I was thinking. Maybe long-winded at times when I probably should have shut up. But nothing over the top. Nothing where I felt like, was ever going to put my teammates, in a bad position, or my manager in a bad position. Never talked about our Hal there. Never talked about Willie Randolph. Like, I was cool. So, New York media leave you alone if you're accountable. I think that's what happens, and you lose accountability with these guys who have a job themselves. Like, there's a job to be done on their side too. So, you keep it simple, and I think you'll always be good.
Yeah. So now, obviously, the game has changed a lot. So for you transitioning into a different role, which you're a coach now too, and also you're on MLB Network. So what's it like covering the game from a different aspect as an analyst and a host on MLB Network? And what's the experience like working for them?
Well, the experience has been great. The opportunity to stimulate your mind and be able to speak something that you think well. I mean, I don't know. You see a select few that they have on TV. Whether people think you're good or not, you get to put the mic on. You get to say something to the world. And my job every day is to tell you something that maybe you didn't see.
Right.
Maybe you didn't see this cat's, bat here getting to the ball a little bit differently. Maybe he changed his leg kick to just, standing still. Whatever it is, I have to see the game totally different than you, and especially to new viewers. And if you do that, I think you can stay on as long as you want. I think the one thing that has to happen, and like anything else, you have to evolve and you have to be better. You have to come up with unique ways to be super dope on TV. And it's very hard. No, I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat like, oh, it's super easy. You just throw the mic on, you got earpiece in. No, you have a suit on that's uncomfortable. You have a tie on. You have the producer telling you in your ear that you got 2 seconds to wrap it up. We got to go to commercial and pay bills. And you might be having a great point in your mind that you can't get out. Right. So, it's a lot of tricks to the trade, but I won't give it up for the world, man.
Yeah, so this is a 2-part question. So what have you learned as an analyst from the last year? Because when the sport shut down, it was tough for all of us. And when the baseball season, when they decided to have 60 games last year, it was a sprint for everyone. So what have you learned as an analyst from last year till now, which is a little back to normalcy with the full 162?
You have to be careful, right? Like, you have to understand the human side of this game and the human side of players. Don't forget that you play too. Now, this is probably the worst possible situation as a player you could possibly play under. Care what sport you're playing. So you can't, if you want to be critical, cool, be you. But understand that they're going through a lot, and things that they can't do. You're pretty much hostage at times because, you can't go unwind and regroup the way you want. Maybe you regroup by going to the club. Maybe you regroup by doing something totally different than sitting outside and having to stay away from people and, watch yourself because you can't come up with a COVID, positive. But I think I've learned to be more sensitive, understanding, and watch more too, because I've never ever wanted to be critical of players. That's not what my job is. I'm not set out to be critical and like, yo, this dude's trash, to get your attention. Be like, oh, Cliff called him. Nah, my job is I got to call it how I see it, but also give you a different take on maybe what a guy can do to actually get out of a slump. And when a guy's going well, I love those times because now you can do something super special to make them look even better than what they already are.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to ask you, what are your thoughts so far on this season? Obviously, it's still early, but I'm a big Yankee fan. And for you, when you were playing, when you guys went on losing streaks, how did you guys deal with it and cope with it? Because the Yankees are obviously in the struggle right now, but they won yesterday, but they're still trying to find their groove.
Man, what are we? 20 games in, 142 left. You can lose it in April. Absolutely. You can be 2-20. And you're like, well, shoot, you know what I'm saying? But I mean, I just look at, there's a lot of teams getting better. And nobody's blowing smoke and eyewash anymore. It's like, yo, the Royals think they're good. Bottom line. Like, you can look at certain teams and be like, oh, crap. The A's have won, 11 in a row? So, you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, look, if you're sitting there saying that the Yankees address their pitching situation like we've seen in the past, maybe that's your opinion. My opinion is no. You're looking at, Domingo Germán and Corey Kluber. The guys are, if they can do this, then you're okay. But yesterday, you saw it, and when you mentioned about yesterday, well, they hit the ball. They did things that that we've seen them do consistently, where they pound you, and then their pitching just got to hold up. If they're not beating you up with the bats, it's going to be close games. The bullpen is still trying to find themselves. So it's a lot going on. And Aaron Boone has his hands full. We'll see how it unfolds.
Yeah, so for you, obviously you covered a lot of winter meetings. So I got to ask you this. What was your most memorable winter meetings that you covered? And obviously the funny thing is, I was in Florida when you covered the Garrett Cole signing at the same time when the Yankees signed Garrett Cole. Would you say that was your most memorable one, or do you have others?
Probably so. But I think because when you're at the winter meetings, you're always on call, right? So you're just kind of sitting around like, who's going to sign this guy? Who's going to sign this guy? And then you run it, right? You run into the set to do, to talk about certain deals. And, you still have to understand that, like, there's so much hype to it and you're going to say the same things over and over, but they all special in their own way, man. you go to winter meetings to pretty much give the dopest signings of the next year to that team. Like, what team has separated themselves by signing Garrett Cole or signing Max Scherzer or signing whoever the case may be? And to me, that is the ultimate of what winter meetings is all about. So.
Yeah, so a couple more things before I let you go. For you as a player, what was your, outside of the World Series that you won with the Marlins, what was your most memorable game that you played in throughout your career?
Man, I had a walk-off back with the Mets. Brendan Donnelly was on the mound. 3-2, bottom of the ninth, like all those things you done in the backyard when you was trying to beat Harold Baines. And I hit a homer foul, and I just remember looking to my left and seeing the fans, and they were all like, oh, and striking out now for sure. Like, that's what you do. You hit a ball 400 feet foul, you're striking out. Like, that's just that. 9 times out of 10 in baseball, you're done, right? And I get back to the box. I'm like, yo, you're not striking out, dog. Like, you gonna come through. And man, I remember hitting that ball 3-2. He tried to throw a split, hung a little bit. And I remember looking at Vladimir Guerrero, who was playing right field, thinking, when you see the casual jog, it's all over but the showers. That was it.
Toughest pitcher that you faced?
Well, I didn't face Randy a lot because I got the day off. But if you want to say the few times I faced him, good Lord. I mean, that ain't right.
Man, Randy Johnson?
Yeah, one right. This one. It's just not right. Like, there's, I don't even know if, some people say there's a handful of lefties that hit them. I need to see that handful.
So who do you like watching right now in the game, outfielder wise?
Man, obviously I'm a huge fan of Mookie Betts.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that when you think about the game and how he goes about his business, I mean, a week ago he had a walk-off diving catch. Put him in left, put him in right, put him in center. The versatility, you can put him at second.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that is, if you're going to say, hey, you know what, I got a boy, and when you take him to a coach, you go, if you can't make a Mookie Betts, then you're not the right coach. No, I'm just joking. But you're not going to be able to repeat certain dudes, and I think he's one of them.
So would you consider being a hitting coach? Obviously, you're a coach right now, coaching these young kids, but down the line, would you consider being a hitting coach or a manager?
You never say never. I don't like some of the things I see in the game. I figured, analytics will play a big part, and I have evolved with analytics. I don't know how much is put on the managers to play certain dudes in certain situations, whether they have a feel, and I think a lot of them do have a feel. Like, I'm watching him every night with my own two eyes. He shouldn't play there, but analytically, they say he should. I don't know how I could deal with that. As a hitting coach, to help a kid be a superstar and make millions, I would love the opportunity if it's the right situation. I get paid to put on makeup and suits right now, and it's great. I can't really knock my job right now. You have to overwhelm me to get me out of what I'm doing.
So you mentioned Jackie Robinson earlier, and what has he meant to you and to the, obviously he broke barriers for the game, and what has he meant to you, and also the late Hank Aaron too? What both of them has meant to the game? Both
were great pioneers, man. And, forget all the accolades on the field. We can read those numbers. To endure what they did throughout their careers, Hank staying at hotels to protect his family, Jackie being called out his name consistently, to play a game he loved, losing it mentally when it's a mentally challenging game already. I know for a fact I couldn't do it. Hank playing in Deep South, Deep South wasn't good back then. All the things that you don't have to mention numbers, they were great. And paving, not just roads, paving huge highways for all of us African Americans, and not just us, you know, for so many other people to actually see now how huge they were, is exactly, if you want to say, you know what, this is why I want to be over the Hall of Fame, I would take their route. To be super great, to be talked about in such a way that you make your mom and dad proud, because you know you have to be special to have a statue.
Right. So before we get to the last few things here, I want to ask you, obviously, what we saw in the George Floyd thing. Do you think now what we saw? Do you think this is a turning point in the whole community where we can be positive now, and there's a change could be happening since what we saw with the verdict? Do you think this can be a pivotal point to the change, positive change?
I damn sure hope so.
Yeah.
People are tired, and people just want equality. People just want to be able to have the same opportunities in the African American community. That's I don't think it's hard. I think respect is huge.
Yep.
And that's where it starts with respect. And you know, if you asking, you know, or you're saying, I just didn't know, from your friends and people who really want to be knowledgeable about it, some people are willing to tell you about it. But enough is enough. And unfortunately, you know, you lose lives for change.
Yeah.
Hopefully they rest in peacefully on the changes.
Yeah. And the last two things here, our team is part of the foundation. We're part of a foundation called the Hugh Jackson Foundation. He's a former NFL coach. Actually, he just got a coach assistant. He's offensive coordinator now at Tennessee State with Eddie George. I'm going to send you the foundation page so you can check it out. We're part of his foundation. We're trying to help him prevent human trafficking and making sure the community stays safe and the kids stay safe, because it's so horrible what we're seeing with human trafficking. So I want to come up with ways where we can help them.
That's great. It really is. You know, we have so many different avenues to what we need to correct and eliminate from our world. I know sometimes we get saturated because things get out of hand in certain other areas that we lose, not focus, but a little bit of steam for something as gross as human trafficking. And it's sad. I have kids, and sad that you can't be comfortable with your kids walking down the street or going to the mall or doing anything.
Right.
But so many people are interested in cleaning up our communities around the world that I really feel good. Standing it, but they're not. Okay, I get it.
All right. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Oh. Hello? Yeah, can you hear me? Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep.
All right, sorry about that. There are Wi-Fi issues here in our house. But before we get to the last thing, I got to ask you this real quick. We had Johnny Damon on the show a couple months back, and he plays golf a lot. How's your golf game?
It's coming around, man. I'm down to 11 handicap. A long way to go. Long way to go, bro. But you know, it's one of those games that's just so freaking annoying, and you know, you trying your best to, you know, you trying your best to be good. You got, and there's so much damn peer pressure too. Like all my boys are like, you should be better. I'm like, what the hell? It's totally different than baseball, dog. Like just leave it alone. Don't even talk to me while I'm out here. You know, but It's so frustrating. It's kind of even hard to even tell you about it. But it's getting better. I will tell you, it's getting better. But as soon as I get comfortable is when I go right back down. So I just got to keep saying that, you know what, I stink and like it's tough, and then I'll just keep, hopefully going that way.
And the last thing here, would you like to say anything to all the nurses, doctors, and essential workers right now?
You know what? A big all caps, thank you. What would be without? I think so much love and respect and everything that you don't hear enough. I think people really truly understand how important you are, and thank you so much for not your time, your life. Mm-hmm. This wasn't a lot. Well, your time is so valuable. No, your life was on the line for people you didn't even know. So that's incredible.
Well said. And there it is. That wraps up episode 765 with former MLB outfielder Cliff Floyd, World Series champ from the Marlins too. I just want to say, and also now MLB Network host and analyst and covers baseball now. I just want to say thank you again for coming on the show. It's truly an honor, and keep up the great work. You and your family stay safe.
No doubt. You as well, my man. Take care.
Thank you.